Hello, I think we have got people with us. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jen, and we're joined by Zoe, our curriculum leader, for the A-level PE taster session. It's your last one of the day. I'm sure you've been involved in plenty others through the day, so it's a shame that we can't see face to face, but all being well, you can take what you need from today, and we will look forward to welcoming you in person in September. So we're going to move swiftly into the session. I'm going to hand you over to Zoe, who's going to do a quick introduction, and then we'll get on to some activities. Okay, Zoe, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I can just see the numbers starting to creep up in terms of participants. So if you're joining us a little bit late, please don't worry. We're hoping that you're going to be able to get involved with us this afternoon using the chat function, as I'm sure you have been doing throughout the day. So please feel free to message us throughout. And of course, when we set you some tasks to do. As most of you will probably know, because you've applied to do A-level PE, I would assume that you have either been to an open day or you've discussed with us at interview the course content. So I'm just going to run through that quickly just to remind you of what you're signing up for. So remember, with A-level PE, you're looking at 2 written papers, which is worth the majority of your course, and then 30% of your marks is available for practical performance, which includes written assessment as well. Paper 1 topics you'll be familiar with. Any of you that are doing level 2, some of those topics will be familiar to you, and that'll be assessed in a written exam. And then we move on to paper 2 topics, which tend to be those that are a little bit newer to you, so they're perhaps the areas that you haven't studied before. PE, as you know, is a very diverse subject, so we look at lots of different types of learning, lots of different types of subject content, which all require different skills. So it is one of the most diverse A-levels that you can do. You'll all be aware that because you love sport so much, practical performance is a big part of your A-level PE, and you get awarded marks for your practical performance in one sport only, and that's in a competitive situation. And we also look at your ability to be able to analyse and evaluate your performance, so knowledge of your sport is going to be important as well. You know that you can only pick your assessed sport from the approved list from AQA, and there's some examples on there. Most of your assessed sport will be assessed through our enrichment program. So when you sign up for your subjects, you will also need to make sure that you select the correct enrichment as well. You'll know that from talking to us before that we study in a variety of different ways. We try and keep you active where we can. We try and vary things. We try and get you out on visits, doing little practical work, bits of work whenever we can. But you know, for most of you, you will be based in a classroom. As you've done your application already as well, you will know that we are looking for your grade 6s if you've done GCSE PE, or distinctions if you've done vocational courses, as well as your 5s in sciences and 4 in maths. So because we want to know a little bit more about you, and because we want to test the chat, we'd really like you to answer these 3 questions in the chat. So we'd like to know what sport you feel is your strongest, which one of you had the most coaching in, which one of you had the most playing experience in, the highest level you've played, so whether it's school team, whether it's club team, county, national, etc., and a proud moment as well, please. So we're going to do a little test. So if you can answer those 3 questions, and then I will tell you when to hit enter. Thank you, Faith, for being keen. So just give you a minute or so just to answer those 3 questions in the chat, and then I'll tell you when to post them. Just while you're writing those, both myself and Jenny have got a variety of sporting experience between us in both individual and team sports, and you'll find that across the college throughout the PE department, again, we've got a range of experience. We've got 2 other members of staff that teach on the sports courses, as well as additional sports specific staff as well that deliver on the enrichment programme.
This is always an interesting part. It's always interesting to find out what sports we're going to be talking about, what sports we're going to be assessing students in. We've already had football.
Yeah, it does vary from year to year. And obviously it's useful for us to know in advance before you arrive because that helps us with a little bit of planning. Okay, so if you've managed to answer those 3 questions, hit enter. Thank you very much. So some football players, some rugby players.
Oh, we've got a
strong football and cricket.
Good to see. I've got a few more girls playing football as well. Cricket, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Kickboxer.
Abhishek. I've got another boxer, have we?
Looks like it.
Rajveer, try saving tackle in the finals. Oh,
it's always a good one to remember. Yeah, some netballers. Excellent.
Oh, Zarina, I'm sorry you've had to overcome an injury at such a young age. Hope you're okay now.
Yeah, definitely. Hope that's under control. Thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting for you to look, because the people that are in the chat today are going to be your class members. So it is always interesting to know. We've got a number of people obviously on the call at the moment who haven't entered into the chat. So please feel free to do that as we go on into the next section.
Yeah. Okay, good. So a bit of a range. Good. And we will talk. We will not just talk about footballing lessons. We will try to discuss a wide range of sports. Having said that, the first sport we're going to talk about today is football. Football's always fairly common ground, because even if you don't play it, even if you don't particularly enjoy it, you generally know a little bit about it. So it sort of gives us a good starting point. And we apply a lot of knowledge. Everything we do, we apply the theory to sporting situations. Do you reckon we're ready to move on?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, okay. Let me get rid of that. Okay, so we're going to jump straight into some theory now, and we've chosen a couple of different areas of theory to use today, which we hope you can get your teeth into and relate to. So we're going to start with attribution theory, and we generally do attribution theory in the second year of the course. We do a lot of the sports psychology in the second year, and we do a lot of the anatomy and physiology in the first year. Attribution theory is something that's directly relevant to you guys as sports performers, and every time you play and compete, you will give reasons for how well or how poorly you did. And there's 4 general ways that we can attribute our success or failure. So we can say we won because we were amazing, it's our ability and it's within our internal control. Or we can say, for example, we lost because the referee just was not on our side at all, or the weather was terrible. So external reasons, things that are outside of our control completely. Or we could talk about stable factors, things that don't change. So our innate ability, for example, or the task difficulty within the league. So the general standard of performance within the league doesn't change from season to season. Or we could talk about very changeable things like effort. So how much effort you put in, or how motivated you were on a given day, the weather, the luck, those are all unstable things that can change. So that is the briefest cover of attribution theory I've ever given, but just to give you a taster. So I want you to hold on to those 4 areas. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at a clip, and some of you may have already seen this if you are covering and watching the Euros at the moment, which we hope you are. We try to pull in as much sort of current affairs, current sporting knowledge as we can. So we're going to watch a clip of Gareth Southgate in his post-match interview, and this was the first game England played against Croatia, which of course they won. So we're going to watch up to a minute first of all, and what I want you to think about is he's discussing how his players got on. So in that discussion, do you think that he's giving reasons for their success as internal reasons, things to do with the players themselves, or do you think he's giving external reasons? And if you can think of any examples, so what we're going to ask you to do is, as we watch the video, have a think and pop into the chat. Is he giving internal or external reasons for his team's success, and any examples that you can think that support your answer? Okay, so just bear with me. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share my screen again and join the clip here. I think, can everybody see that? Zoe, can you see that?
Yeah, that's up, Jen. That's
okay,
fine.
So congratulations on the win, the first manager to lead England to a winning start of the Euros in front of fans. I mean, just sum up how that game went for you and how it feels.
Well, it feels great to have been able to send the fans home happy. And to have fans up and down the country happy, that's very special. In terms of the game, I was really pleased with the way we settled so quickly. It's some young players, some inexperienced international players, big occasion, not only a tough opponent, but a big occasion, sweltering hot day. Every reason to potentially look nervous at the start, but they didn't. You know, with and without the ball, they were composed, carried out, you know, what we wanted to do in terms of pressing brilliantly. And yeah, although it was always going to be a game of few clear chances, I thought we looked the bigger threat throughout, really.
Thanks, Simon. Next we'll go to Dan King.
Okay, I'm going to just pause it there. And I'm going to leave it there for a second. I'm going to reopen the chat. So can you add into the chat then? Do you think the reasons that Gareth Southgate was giving, were they internal? Was he attributing success to his performers? Or was he attributing success to things outside of their control? Okay, I'd like you to have a go now, please. If I just give you all a chance to pop in some answers, so don't send those yet, don't send those through. Put them in the chat and I'll just give you a few seconds and I'll count you down and then we'll release those answers together and see what you've come up with. Again, as Zoe says, I'd encourage you all to contribute. We will expect in the lessons for everybody to contribute in class to question answers and to discussion.
I'm sure you're all very used to using chat functions at the moment, whether it's Google Classrooms or Microsoft Teams, whatever it might be, but we definitely want you to get involved. Okay,
so we'll count down from 5 and then you'll add your chat and you release it then. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, off you go. Let's have your answers then, please.
Okay. Thank you, Zarina. In on first.
Can you add an example, Zarina? Can you add an example of why he felt it was the success was to do with the players? Anybody else? Come on, guys. You'll know, I'm sure from experience, that if you don't offer answers, we ask. You pick on people.
Doesn't look like we're getting through any more on the chat there. Jen, do you want to talk through what he said?
Okay, so he offered some external, if you recall, he said, you know, what did he say? He said it was a fairly inexperienced team. He said it was tough competition. He said it was sweltering hot. You know, he suggested that there could have been lots of reasons why this team struggled. So he suggested there could have been external reasons why they struggled, but they didn't. And he said they settled quickly, and that was to do with the team. The team settled quickly. They were composed. They pressed brilliantly. They were on the day the bigger threat. So those are all attributes that Southgate has provided that would say, yeah, the team did really well and it's on the team. They can take credit for that. Okay, they didn't have easy chances. The opposition weren't rubbish. He didn't offer any excuses for why they might have performed well. He attributed that internally. And imagine, well, we'll come to it in a second, what might have that done for the players' confidence to hear the praise that Southgate was giving and how that was internally attributed. Right, we're going to jump forward now and we're going to go to 2 minutes 30 and we're going to hear him answer another question. And this time I want you to have a think about the reasons that he's giving. Is he giving stable reasons for the success, so things that don't really change, or is he giving unstable reasons, things that could change from game to game that they might do differently, or is he giving both? So jump to 2 minutes 30.
Go to Alex Howe from BBC Sport.
I was going to touch on the midfield three again. How happy are you with the balance in the middle of the pitch, in particular, Calvin Phillips?
Yeah, I think we know that we're asking him to play in a slightly advanced position from that he plays at his club. But he's got the techniques to be able to do that. It gives us a bit more solidity in midfield. You know, and allows us to effectively play 4 attacking players with Mason in midfield as well. So we think that 3 in midfield was a good balance. But also, again, I have to credit the forwards for doing their job without the ball as well. And every time we made runs in behind, whether that was from midfield or from the front, we looked a real threat. And I thought we could have done that a little bit more, if anything. So pleased with a lot of things. There's still obviously, as always, things we can get even better at.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for going to John Cross.
Okay, pause it again. So this time, if you can pop in the chat, and we'd really encourage you to have a go at this. You're not going to be berated for a wrong answer or anything like that, but have a go, please. So the reasons that he's given, are they reasons that are going to change? Or are they reasons that are definitely going to be the same throughout the tournament? So pop your answers, send them straight through on the chat now, rather than waiting. Let's encourage some responses.
Thank you, Arjun.
Yeah.
Just reading through your answers.
Fantastic. Yeah, really good answer. So you've given a reason and you've justified it. So well done. Anybody else? Any other responses? Something different that he said? Yeah, good. Yeah, he said things that we can do even better at. Made runs. They made some runs, and when they made runs, they were a threat. And in fact, he said they could have actually done that even more. Good. He did refer to something that was stable early on in that answer. If anybody can have a go at that. Let's just see.
I'll have a go, Jen, if that helps. So he talked about techniques and skills, didn't he? So that's got to be a little bit more stable than unstable, because that's all based on their experience.
Yeah, we generally talk about ability and techniques because fundamentally they don't change from week to week. You either have it or you don't. Okay, so that's something that we'll discuss in the lessons, and what we like to do, especially in the second year, you know, the sports psych topics are, because they affect you from week to week. You know, they are instrumental in how you play your game. Sports psychology over the years has become increasingly important. Just to make a nice little link to an area the course that Zoe teaches, you'll notice Coca-Cola bottles nicely positioned, a Heineken bottle nicely positioned right in the center of the screen. And we talk about sponsorship is another area on the course as well. Okay, let me stop my sharing. I'm going to just come back to the slides. We're going to move on to a second topic now. And just to say, for the attribution theory, how relevant it is. And, you know, for a coach that's trying to instill confidence and build the confidence of a team, we would always look to give either internal attributes and potentially unstable. So somebody might have been guilty of not putting in enough effort on a given week in a given match, but that's something that they can address the next time round. Okay, particularly if somebody's failed and they're low in confidence and you don't want to give them an internal attribute, you would use external attributes then to say, well, you know, perhaps it was effort, you could have worked harder, or you were a bit unlucky this week. You wouldn't say to them, you know, the reason you failed is because you are rubbish, you have no skill, your techniques are terrible, and you don't ever put in any effort. That's not where we would go.
I don't think I'd be very motivated by that.
No. So moving on then to anatomy and physiology. We're going to talk about netball now. Hopefully we've got a few netballers amongst us. So very recently, 13th of June, London Pulse, and I think this is the Super League. So a lot of the sports now have Super Leagues where they have a few teams, a select few teams playing at the highest level in the country. So London Pulse and Seven Stars are in the National League in this country. We're just going to watch a minute or so. We'll start at the second quarter just so you can get a feel for their movement. What we're going to be looking at is anatomy and physiology. And you can see that we look at a lot of different areas of A&P during the course, mostly during the first year of the course. So it's so important that these players are at the peak of physical conditioning. They have strong bones, strong muscles, their heart and lungs are well equipped to cope with high intensity activity. So I am just thinking, I don't know whether I've opened this, so I don't think you can see this.
No, you have to unshare.
Yes, I'm going to have to stop sharing.
We can hear it.
Start sharing. You should be able to see that now. Can you see that now? So we'll move to 28.
slowly, but when they got into it, you think they were going to take the momentum, and again just made some
We'll just watch a minute
silly
or so.
errors that pulled back in the game, and I feel that
No, lots of you, especially if you're not a netballer, probably won't have seen a lot of Super League. You won't see this, the pace that they play at. Obviously, it's very different to school-based netball.
Goal, they take them to 9.
I know we're getting a little lag on the video, but you can see the speed that they're moving.
To show what they can do. It's just a great positioning at the top of the circle of adamant.
I think even for me, even once, you know, there's a lot of goals scored. It's a very high scoring game. But the turnaround, once the goal is scored, that ball is straight back to the centre and they get going again very quickly. There's very little rest.
I think when
They
the
play in
ball's
4
more direct,
quarters.
just like that. And a more frustrating pass from Joe.
They're always moving off the ball
It's an opportunity
as well as on the ball. People are doing something all the time.
It just outplays the defence slightly, changes it up. And that's that early ducking into the circle. Georgia Bow on the front hold.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of lag on the video, Jen.
Okay.
Might be worth moving on.
Right, okay. So let's go back. Let me share my screen again. And we go back to here. Okay. So what I'd like you to do now, please, is to put a pin to the chat, and hopefully we'll have a few more of you contributing now. What I want you to do is put in some sentences which apply just some basic information from what you've seen. What's going to happen to the netballer's heart and their lungs as they are exercising in the different parts? You know, can we make a difference between when they're walking into position or when they're sprinting for the ball? So what I'd like to do is look at those different areas and see if you can write as sentences or as many sentences as you want about how we can apply a little bit of anatomy and physiology to these performers. Okay, so for example, the netballer's heart will be pumping blood faster and harder around the body as she works. When she sprints for the ball, she'll be working, will she be working aerobically or anaerobically? Her bones are strong to cushion the impact as the netballer lands from a jump for a rebound, for example. So have a think and add some of those into the chat for us, please. Off you go.
Yeah, do you know any different bones or muscles, and think about whether or not they might be used in that situation from playing netball? We'd love to see what your previous knowledge is, because if you're doing any sort of level 2 sport, GCSE, you will have done a little bit of physiology. So share with us what you know. Give us some facts. Give you a chance to think. Thank you, Jana. So when the netballer sprints into a space, they will be working anaerobically, correct? Because that's a high explosive event.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Giles talked about heart rate and stroke volume will increase the oxygen when she sprints a push. Oh, brilliant. Joel, that's a fantastic answer. I would just say for that not all of you maybe have studied in that level of depth, so please don't be intimidated by Joel's excellent answer. But yeah, brilliant. Well done. Good. Good. So what do we want to get? We're sending more blood to the working muscles. What is it we want to deliver? Hamali, good answer. Well done. Okay, heart rate and respiratory rate will increase. Good.
Yeah, some great answers. And as Jen said, we do appreciate that some people won't have studied as much physiology, so we will always start from scratch, assuming people know nothing, and build things up slowly. Yeah, well done. How are we doing for time, Zoe? We've got 5 minutes. Okay, brilliant. Okay, anything else? Anyone else want to add some? We've got some really good answers there. Yeah, some really good use of key terms as well, which is something that's really important in PE. We teach with technical language, and you need to be able to use that technical language in your exam question answers. So, you know, if we're teaching you phrases or particular words, then you do need to get used to using them. So it's great to see that some of you have learnt some of those already from your level 2s. So well done, and thank you for responding. Brilliant, good, yeah. And we, you know, we very much take the approach that we teach as a team. Zoe and I work very closely together, but also we want the class to be a team. You will not sit there in silence. You will not discuss. You know, these are fun, engaging lessons where you come and you work with everybody else, us included. So thank you for your contributions, and we will take that to the next level
during the lessons. So thank you for your time today. We've got a little bit of an opportunity now, if you've got any immediate questions, to pop them in the chat, or you've been sent some information from admissions, so you could book a subject advice appointment. I think they're mostly tomorrow, so
yeah, level 3s are tomorrow.
yeah. Anything else or some generic inquiries, you should have the admissions email, and that's on the screen. Otherwise, we sincerely look forward to seeing you again in person in August. Thank you very much.
Definitely. So if you've got questions, please feel free to hang around. If you're happy, then obviously, again, you're free to leave. So Joel's asked a very good question. So he said, can you be assessed in your sport when playing? Oh, I've lost it. Hang on, let me go back to it. Can you be assessed in your sport when playing for the sports teams, or do you need to submit video evidence? Okay, so Joel, you will be assessed when playing for the sports teams, but video evidence is the evidence that is required by the exam board. So we will video your games through college, and if you perform for a club or a team outside of college, we'll expect you to get some video footage from there as well. So we loan out cameras for those people who have not got equipment to use at home, and we'll provide you with some advice about how to video and how to produce the best footage.
Yeah, and I think we would say that we can technically start collecting evidence from now. So if you've got any big games coming up or big competitions coming up, if you're an athlete or a cricketer, then start videoing those meets or those matches over the summer, because heaven forbid, you know, September could be the time that you break that leg, like I said, heaven forbid. So if you, especially if you're a summer performer, if you can get some footage over the summer, full races, full innings. So if you're a cricketer and you're a bowler, full innings. If you're a batsman, as long as you are in. If you're a fielder, the duration of the innings. So full competitive footage and broken footage, but get that over the summer if you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, heaven forbid we might end up in a local lockdown come September again. We just don't know. Fingers crossed we won't, but it's best to be prepared. So the video footage that you gather can't be from your GCSE years. It has to be from your A level, so from this summer onwards. Can you take Arjun's asked us a question, can we take training videos from cricket training? You can take videos from cricket training as supporting evidence, but it won't be classed as your main evidence because it has to be in a competitive situation, so it has to be in gameplay. So I hope that answers your question, Arjun. Any more before we head off today?
There's no such thing as a silly question. If we can't take videos this summer, is that fine? Yeah, you still have, you know, the duration of the course. We generally have to collect final evidence by Easter of your second year, but please don't leave it that long. So it's, especially if you're, you know, a winter performer, if you play one of the team sports, for example, then yeah, you will have time to do that in, you know, in the autumn term. It's most important for those athletes, because if you're an athlete or a cricketer, for example, and you don't get any footage this summer, then it really only leaves you next summer.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, over a period of 18 months to 2 years on the course, you'll be improving over that time. So you want to gather video evidence as you go along, so that you've got the best evidence possible available for the exam board.
Yeah.
So Joel's asked us about injury that stops you playing during A-levels. Could this be accounted for? The exam board does allow you to make an appeal for an injury, but they are not that sympathetic, to be honest. No. So as performers, you need to make sure that you're looking after yourself, warming up properly, cooling down properly, recovering properly. As young players often doing quite a lot of activity, it is really important that you look after yourself. I mean, most injuries you might be looking at sort of 6 to 8 weeks out. And that will be it. It would be a major injury that we'd be looking to make an appeal to the exam board for. And again, if you're videoing consecutively over that 2-year period, you know, one injury in that time shouldn't make a difference to the video evidence that you're able to provide.
but we can't stress it highly enough. As soon as you are able to get footage, start to, because we always have some students who have really unfortunate situations and they just run out of time.
Okay, well, that looks like all the questions for today. So I think that leaves us to say goodbye and thank you very much for joining us today. And we will hopefully see you all again soon. Have a great summer.
Take care, everybody.